I'm the most hated singer in America, and I'm married into the Shaw family dynasty. Right now, a hidden camera is live streaming my life to the entire world, and I have absolutely no idea. In a frame, my husband Ethan Shaw walks toward me. His voice is cold, playing games again online. The trolls are salivating. Julie is always clinging to Ethan, pretending they're so in love. Time for the mask to slip. His parents and younger sister are watching from their own screens, their expressions just as chilly. If Ethan really can't stand her, his mother says to his father, they should stop making each other miserable. But on the live feed, the woman known for her gentle, adoring public persona, me, shoves Ethan's face away with a flash of impatience. What is your deal? Back off. And Ethan, the famously stoic CEO, looks wounded. You're sick of me. The day I married into the Shaw family, the internet dragged me so hard I trended on Twitter for a week. What? My favorite ship just sank. This can't be happening. Does Julie have no shame? Everyone knew Ethan had been in love with Haley Sutton forever. How did this leech actually win? Ethan and Haley were childhood friends. He financed her first indie film, put a predatory director in his place for her, and even made a surprise appearance on a reality show to support her. They were the golden couple everyone rooted for, and I was the scheming villain who ruined it. When an interviewer asked Haley about our marriage, she forced a smile. Ethan and Julie are a wonderful match. Then she turned away, her eyes welling up. The world grieved for the heartbroken starlet while branding me a manipulative social climber who used dirty tricks to get a ring on my finger. They said even my new in-laws couldn't stand me. They weren't wrong about that part. Ethan's parents were so displeased they barely smiled at our wedding. His sister Chloe has never once called me by my first name, let alone sister-in-law. The internet saw it all. The hashtag "When will Ethan divorce Julie" was a perennial favorite. I didn't really care. Ethan and I weren't without feelings for each other, but it wasn't some grand romance either. I had money to spend and a handsome man in my bed. The days were good. Who cared what strangers thought? But I never imagined they disliked me this much. Shaw Corporation had just developed a fully autonomous tracking camera. It was microscopic, floated silently, and had built-in AI that automatically censored private moments. To promote the product, their marketing department offered up its greatest asset, their CEO. The invisible camera would follow Ethan Shaw live, streaming his powerful, glamorous life for the world to see. And not a single person thought to tell me. So there I was in worn-out sweats with my hair in a messy bun, melting into the sofa when the broadcast silently began. Are we sure we don't need to give Jolie a heads up? Chloe muttered, frowning at the live feed on her phone. What if she says something, bad? At that moment, Ethan wasn't interacting with viewers. He was leaning back in his town car seat, eyes closed, exhaustion written all over his face. He'd been up since dawn for a press conference and had gone straight into this promotional live stream. His cool demeanor only made the audience more excited. The most legit brand ambassador ever, CEO Ethan Shaw himself. Haha, this is way more interesting than an influencer. Speaking of influencers, do you think we'll see Julie? Please don't mention her. Let's not ruin the vibe. Ethan's mother glanced at the flood of comments and said flatly, Julie's a singer, not a trained actress. She couldn't fake a natural demeanor if she tried. Her voice was clipped. Besides, your brother knows what he's doing. Chloe pouted. I just don't get why he's with someone like her. Her parents remained silent. They didn't like me, but they respected Ethan's choices. They hadn't forbidden the marriage, but their approval was conspicuously absent. This live stream was an opportunity, a window into the unfiltered truth of Ethan and Jolie's marriage. It would decide whether they'd finally confront him. If we were truly incompatible, they could cut their losses early. Back in our penthouse, I was oblivious, curled up in a fluffy armchair in my pink and yellow teddy bear pajamas, my hair clipped up with cheap plastic. I was so engrossed in my phone that I didn't even notice Ethan come in. He changed out of his suit, poured himself a glass of water, and paced in front of me. I saw his shadow move a few times, but I was in the middle of a critical game level and didn't bother looking up. Seeing my lack of reaction, he walked over, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. He stood over me, voice laced with ice. Playing games again. The comments exploded. Don't blame him for being pissed. He works all day, comes home, and she can't even look up to say hello. Serves her right. She broke up America's golden couple. They were gloating, expecting me to jump up, terrified, and apologize. Instead, I scowled and pushed his face out of my line of sight. "What is your deal? Back off. You're blocking my scream." Ethan's eyes widened slightly, his expression softening with hurt. "You're sick of me." For 10 full seconds, the chat was silent. Chloe nearly dropped her phone. "Did I hit my head? Is my brother pouting?" Hearing the wounded note in Ethan's voice, I finally looked up, surprised. He had one hand on the back of my chair, his breath warm against my skin. I tried giving his arm a playful push, but he didn't budge. He just stared down at me, lips pressed thin, stubborn as a child. But he was easy to soothe. A hug or a kiss always worked. He'd pretend it was nothing, but that tiny secret smile would return, melting the serious CEO into something almost human again. I sighed, put my phone down, and wrapped my arms around his neck, my fingers tangling in his hair. I pressed a trail of kisses along his jaw and whispered, "Never, you're the best husband." The tip of Ethan's ear turned red. He hugged me back tightly, burying his face in my neck. A moment later, he straightened stiff again. The chat recovered. What is Ethan doing? Is this staged? Remember when he told her to shut up on that reality show? Wait, are his ears actually red? The internet was in chaos. A powerful CEO acting clingy on camera? Impossible. But Chloe knew better. Her brother was serious and controlled. This couldn't be fake. She stared at the scream. "Mom, Dad, did they hire a body double?" Her parents said nothing. Ethan had never given them a moment's worry, but seeing him bury his head in my shoulder left them stunned. Meanwhile, I curled back up on the sofa and went back to my game while Ethan worked on his laptop, glancing at me every few seconds. After a few minutes, I turned my back to him, annoyed. It didn't help. He moved his chair just to keep me in view. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Somewhere else. So you'll stop harassing me?" "I'm harassing you?" he asked, genuinely confused. I pointed at my eyes, then at him. "With your eyes? Is he always this clingy?" The viewers joked. Am I crazy, or does it seem like Julie isn't that into him, but he's obsessed with her? Others defended me. Their apartment is actually cozy. Chloe, seeing her brother's space for the first time, was surprised by the warmth of it. Cartoon calendars, cat mugs, and a bear mouse bed. She'd never imagined her cold brother living among such soft, silly things. The realization hit her like a strange mix of relief and awkwardness. Oh God, she thought. If I start calling her sis now, will I look like a suck-up? Don't go, Ethan said quietly, his brow furrowed, eyes pleading. I sighed, walked back to him, and perched on his desk. My eyes drifted from his face to the line of his neck, down to the hint of his chest. I followed my instinct and slipped the hand inside his collar, giving his chest a firm squeeze. Ethan jolted and grabbed my wrist. "It's the middle of the day," he hissed. I calmly pulled my hand back. "Got it. I'll save it for tonight." Did she just say that? Chloe's face turned red. Her parents exchanged the look. "Honestly, that girl," his mother murmured. Ethan took a steadying breath. "Sing me that new song you wrote." I haven't heard the full thing yet. I gave him a look, but picked up my guitar anyway. The comments reignited. Is she serious? Who gave her the confidence to sing live? Sorry. Is there drama with her? Oh yeah, lip-syncing, plagiarism, they kite. She's done it all? Of course, Shaw Media defends her. She's the CEO's wife. Ethan's parents frowned. They'd never actually heard me sing. If my performance went wrong, it would destroy what was left of my reputation. But I began to play, my voice soft and clear. Fading light of yesterday. Words of love etched deep in the haze of those old days. I loved you more than the evening breeze. Ethan's expression softened. His eyes were warm and focused on me. Our gazes met, and for a moment my heart fluttered before I looked away. Wait, did she write that? It's actually really pretty. Okay, maybe I judged her too harshly. That look Ethan gave her. He's in love. Oh, please. He looks once, and you all write fan fiction. As the last note faded, I asked, "Well?" Ethan nodded. Serious? Not bad. I give it a 9.9. What happened to the other .1? You didn't do the dance moves. Dance moves. I don't dance. A small smile appeared on his lips. The first time I saw you, you were dancing just fine. I blinked. The first time we met was at that hotel, wasn't it? The chat exploded. I knew it. She seduced him from the start. Give me back my golden couple. Chloe's stomach twisted. If that clip went viral, I'd be branded a gold digger forever. Brother, fix this now. But Ethan was lost in thought. The resort was the second time, he said quietly. The first time was in a rehearsal studio. I froze. That made sense. Before signing with Shaw Media, I'd rented practice rooms by the hour. The studios had an inner and outer section separated by a glass wall. I always used the inner one, but I didn't remember anyone ever coming in that day. The rehearsal studio smelled faintly of dust and coffee. I remembered that day only in fragments. My hair tied up, my notebook open, and the old speaker crackling as I practiced the same verse over and over. It had been one of those afternoons when I was desperate to prove I still had talent after being dropped by my label. I didn't know someone was watching from the outer room. Now, years later, hearing Ethan say those words sent a strange chill through me. You were wearing a gray hoodie, he said, eyes unfocused as if replaying it. You had your headphones on and didn't see me come in. You were recording the demo of Paper Wings. I stood there for 10 minutes before I realized I was smiling. I laughed softly, half in disbelief. You never told me that. He shrugged. You never asked. The comments on the live stream were spinning out of control. Wait, did he just confess he fell for her first? No way. Ethan Shaw had a crush on her. Hold up. Paper Wings came out before she signed with Shaw Media. He remembered the exact song. Chloe's jaw dropped. He never remembers my birthday, she muttered. His parents sat in stunned silence. Ethan had never been one to volunteer personal memories. For him to recall something so trivial, it wasn't trivial at all. I set the guitar down and smiled faintly. So, you were stalking me before it was fashionable. Ethan chuckled, the rare, unguarded kind of laugh I'd only heard when he was half asleep or tipsy. I guess so, the audience melted. Okay, I take it back. That was kind of adorable. I hate how I'm starting to ship them again. Don't remember Haley. Don't fall for the PR trap. The PR trap. The words made my stomach twist because once upon a time it had been PR. Months before our marriage, I was broke, blacklisted, and desperate. My label had accused me of plagiarizing a hit single, a lie crafted by a rival who wanted my contract spot. The tabloids tore me apart. That's when Shaw Media's PR department reached out. Help us soften Ethan's image, they'd said. The internet paints him as an emotionless CEO. You're fiery, outspoken, relatable. Marry him and both of you benefit. At first I laughed. Marry a stranger, pretend to be in love for clicks. But then Ethan himself called. His voice had been calm, almost bored. Think of it as mutual gain. He'd said, you get your career back. I get peace from the rumors about Haley. I signed the contract that same week. The marriage was supposed to last 2 years. No strings, no emotions, only the lines blurred. He started leaving notes in my lunch bag, remembering my allergies, buying me tea during recording sessions. Little things, dangerous things. I never let myself call it love. Back in the present, Ethan shut his laptop. I'm hungry. Did you eat? I shook my head. Not yet. He moved toward the kitchen. I'll cook. You cook? I laughed. He smirked. Don't underestimate me. The chat went wild. Is he serious right now? The Ethan Shaw cooking? Okay, this is either a PR stunt or I'm hallucinating. He rolled up his sleeves and started preparing pasta. I watched amused until he dropped the salt jar with a loud clink. Maybe I should order delivery, he muttered, cheeks faintly pink. I couldn't resist teasing him. See, this is why billionaires shouldn't touch real food. Keep mocking me and you'll be making dinner tomorrow, he said, grinning for once. The laughter in his voice caught me off guard. It sounded real. The kind of sound that didn't belong to the man I'd signed a contract with. For a second, I forgot the world was watching. But somewhere else in the Shaw mansion, his mother was staring at the live feed, fingers trembling slightly on the tablet. Look at him, she whispered. I haven't seen Ethan smile like that since... She trailed off. Since before, Haley? When the pasta was ready, we sat across from each other at the small counter. I twirled a fork full absently. You're staring again. Maybe I like what I see. That's new, I said, half joking. Usually you're busy checking stock prices. Maybe I'm diversifying my portfolio. The audience lost it. Someone tell me this isn't flirting. I'm screaming. Who replaced Ethan with this man? Chloe groaned into her pillow. They're flirting on camera. If I had known, maybe I would have stopped it. Maybe I would have remembered the fine print of that cursed marketing campaign, the part where it said live feed subject to global streaming for 30 days. But ignorance made me brave. After dinner, Ethan washed the dishes while humming one of my songs under his breath. The sight was so surreal, I had to record it on my phone. Evidence, I told him, for the day you deny ever doing chores. Blackmail material, he replied without looking up. It should have been funny, but beneath the laughter, a tiny aching warmth bloomed in my chest. That night, while I dried my hair in the bedroom, Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through his phone. They're tearing you apart again, he said quietly. I froze. Who? The comments. The news outlets. They're twisting the stream into headlines. He handed me his phone. America's most hated singer bullies husband on live camera. Is the Shaw marriage a PR lie? Haley Sutton seen crying during broadcast. I can't watch this. I laughed bitterly. Of course she cried. Perfect timing as always. She called me earlier, Ethan admitted. I didn't answer. Something inside me cracked a little at that. Do you still love her? He looked up sharply. Why would you ask that now? Because the whole world thinks you do, and sometimes I wonder if they're right. The silence between us was heavy. The air conditioner hummed softly. Then he said almost inaudibly, I did once, but not anymore. It should have made me feel triumphant. It didn't. Meanwhile, at Shaw headquarters, the marketing team was in panic mode. Sir, the engagement metrics are off the charts. One intern stammered, but the narrative's unpredictable. The head of PR rubbed his temples. This was supposed to promote the camera, not turn into a romantic soap opera. Do we cut the stream? Not yet, the PR head said grimly. The Shaws are trending worldwide. We'd be idiots to stop now. Back in the penthouse, Ethan leaned closer. You still don't know, do you? Know what? He hesitated. His hand hovered near mine, almost touching. Then his phone buzzed. He sighed and stood. Nothing. Forget it. But the look in his eyes lingered. Something he wanted to say, but couldn't. The next morning, I woke to find him gone. The bed beside me was cold, his pillow untouched. My phone was blowing up with the notifications. Julie storms out. Ethan leaves in the night. The gossip blogs were working overtime again. I groaned and threw the phone aside. I made coffee, humming softly, unaware the invisible camera was still on. At Shaw Mansion, Chloe was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through comments. People are calling them #Schwartz now. They've gone from most hated couple to unexpected comfort ship. Her mother frowned. Public affection fades. Scandals don't. Her father adjusted his glasses. Still, the numbers don't lie. Ethan's approval ratings are rising, so are hers, Chloe said grudgingly. Everyone's saying she's genuine. The word stung more than it should have because genuine wasn't part of the contract. Later that day, Ethan came home early. His tie was gone, his sleeves rolled up. We need to talk, I tensed. That sounds serious? It is. He gestured for me to sit. You remember how our marriage started? What it was? I swallowed. A contract, right? But that contract expires in 3 months. My stomach dropped. So this is it. You're ending it. That's not what I said. He paused, searching my face. I want to renew it. But only if you want to. I blinked. Why would I want to renew a fake marriage? He smiled faintly. Because maybe it stopped being fake. The chat went ballistic. What did he just say? Proposal? Someone called TMZ. I hate them, but I love them. Help. I laughed nervously, not understanding how serious he was. You're kidding. I'm not, he said. I know you think this was all for image. Maybe it was at first, but somewhere along the way you stopped being my PR partner. His eyes softened. You became my home. For the first time since I'd met him, I was speechless. But before I could answer, my phone buzzed again, this time with a notification from a private account. Anonymous user, you should check your reflection. Confused, I looked up at the living room window and froze. A faint shimmer in the air, a floating glint, like a tiny lens catching the light. And then it hit me. The invisible camera. It had been there the entire time. Every moment, every private word, every touch, broadcast live to millions. The comments on the feed flooded faster than I could breathe. Is this scripted? Wait, she just noticed. OMG, her face. She didn't know. I stumbled back. Ethan, what is that? He turned slowly, horror dawning in his eyes. The camera hovered between us, silent and unblinking, the whole world watching. And finally, I understood. I wasn't just America's mated singer anymore. I was their entertainment, their experiment, their proof that the perfect marriage could be streamed and destroyed in real time. I did not scream. I did not throw a lamp. I did not do anything that would give the internet a tidy clip to replay under 10,000 captions. I stared at the tiny glint in the window light until my vision steadied. Then I walked around the coffee table and faced Ethan. My voice came out calm, almost too calm. How long? He followed my eyes to the hovering dot. His shoulders went rigid. There was a pause that pressed on my chest like a weight. Long enough to cover his impulse to lie? Long enough to admit the truth? Since yesterday morning, he said. It was supposed to follow me only. It was supposed to cut in private zones. We tested that. We? He swallowed. You are not supposed to be on it. No one cleared that. But it is on, I said. And I am in it. And the world is watching us right now. He turned toward the shimmer and lifted a hand like he could block a satellite with his palm. The machine drifted a few inches, clever enough to maintain a perfect midpoint between our faces. A mindless little moon. I felt the slow lift of something old inside me, the thing that kept me from crying when my label leaked that fake plagiarism rumor, the thing that kept me singing in free rooms when I had no budget for studio time. It rose again now, and it sounded like steel in my own voice. Who authorized our home? He shook his head. The house zones were whitelisted, living room on at limited intervals, kitchen on for cooking sequences, bedroom off, bath off, office on only if I turn it on. The filter should mask you unless you say my name or I say yours. Legal said it passes consent because it is my stream, my property, our shared residence. His jaw clenched. I told them it still needed your explicit sign-off. The team said they would handle it. Which team? Marketing and product. He exhaled through his nose. Chloe pushed for a real day in the life angle. She thought it would humanize me. He met my eyes for 1 second and looked away. I should have forced the pause. I should have insisted we delay until you were briefed. You did not. Silence again. The invisible lens hummed in a voice too small to hear the sound you feel more than detect, a hair-thin metal vibration that made the room feel crowded. At the mansion, his parents were watching on a tablet propped between a vase of peonies and a silver photo frame. They saw my mouth harden. They saw Ethan lower his gaze. They saw the moment a marriage tornado touched the ground. Turn it off, I said. I already tried, he said. It is locked to the campaign window. The only way to cut it without triggering a penalty is to invoke the emergency privacy clause. There is a key code. Legal holds it. The clause needs a privacy violation of serious harm. I screamed. Being streamed in my own home without consent is not serious harm. He pinched the bridge of his nose. To them, it is not harm if it is me who initiated the stream. He looked sick. It was never supposed to include you. I understood something ugly then. I was not a person to that team. I was a variable. I was a guaranteed spike in watch time. The most hated singer in America delivered to your screen in pajamas. My phone buzzed on the table. The screen lit with a message landfall clip already ripped. Headlines black bar bold, close-ups of my hand on his collar, slow motion of him burying his face in my neck. For once, the comments were not the worst part. The worst part was seeing how many accounts had the little blue check. Newsrooms were eating us alive and calling it breakfast. I put my hands on the back of a chair and breathed until my ribs stopped fluttering. Then I did the thing I do when I sing alone, and the booth feels too small. I imagined an arena. I imagined 10,000 faces and one voice that could cut right through the noise. I imagined making a choice. Where is legal? I asked. Conference room 2 at headquarters, he said. They have a live dashboard on the wall. They can see the camera routes and flags. Call them, I said. Put them on speaker and do not warn them you are calling. He hesitated a heartbeat and then dialed. The line clicked. Background chatter. Paper. The tap of keyboard keys. A woman answered in a bright voice that carried a tremor under the brightness. Legal. This is Dana. Ethan here, he said. We need the emergency privacy key now. A pause. Chair scrape. Someone whispering to someone else. Sir, the clause requires a documented harm, she recited. We have consent on file. Whose consent? I said, stepping close to the phone. Another pause. Miss Julie? Hello. We have household consent through Mr. Shaw for the commercial use of shared spaces. It is within reasonable expectations of a promotional stream. That is how it was written. I almost laughed. Reasonable expectations. The phrase sounded like a lawyer tiptoeing over a trapdoor. Read the last paragraph of the clause. I said, the part about unbriefed parties paper rustled. She began to read in cases where a non-employee, non-participant subject is captured in a manner inconsistent with a reasonable expectation of notice, the company will evaluate mitigation. She trailed off and rushed on. However, the product filter is designed to auto-mask on brief parties, so mitigation is presumed useless unless the filter fails. I said, which it did. I am not masked. I have been in frame for hours. My name, face, body, voice. It is not presumed, it is present. Sir, Dana tried again. A shutdown would cost us the buy and breach the sponsor contracts for the rollout. There are damages. We would be liable for a multi-figure penalty and a loss of market momentum. Her voice softened. The board will likely refuse to approve that risk. Tell the board they can bill me, I said. Julie, Ethan said softly. I held up a hand. Dana, you have 10 minutes to trigger the clause, or I stand up and state on this live stream that I am being recorded without my consent in my private residence due to a product failure. I will say this calmly and without slander. I will name the clause and the timestamp. I will note that my counsel has advised me to preserve evidence. I will then walk to my front door and hold my phone above my head where the building cameras can see it. And I will keep walking until a reporter sees me. I will sing if I have to. The audio will be clean. The clip will be cleaner. You will not be able to argue presumption after that. The room on their side went so quiet I could hear a pen roll. Dana cleared her throat, voice suddenly very dry. Please hold. The line clicked into hold music. Ethan rubbed his mouth like he could erase the last hour with his hand. I could feel the audience climbing the walls of our silence. The comments scrolled like rain. Some of them had turned. Some of them were still sharpening knives. Most of them were starving. You should not have had to do that, he said. No, I said. I should not have. He looked at the camera again. A small, silver freckle on the day. His mouth tightened. Someone overrode the mask. He said it like a verdict. Who? We did not have to guess long. The hold music cut. Dana returned with a voice so bland it shone. We have triggered a limited privacy blackout, she said. The frame is now cropped to Mr. Shaw. The audio is live, but filters are active for non-subject speech. We will perform a full audit of the mask logs and routing permissions. She swallowed. Off the record, there are indications of a routing injection external, possibly concurrent with a third-party promotional placement. We will confirm. Routing injection, a hack, or the word you use when you do not want to accuse your sponsor of bribing a subcontractor to push the line. Ethan stared at the ceiling like it could give him strength. Who placed the sponsor? He asked. Product and brand partnerships, she said, with approvals from marketing and a family advisor. Which advisor? I said, already knowing I would not like the answer. Dana coughed. Miss Sutton's agency, the one that packages reality talent and fragrance lines. They have a cross-promo deal with the camera for a separate series structure. The idea was to introduce a parallel female perspective into the launch week. Haley, I said. The name hit the filter and dropped out of the stream. I saw the caption skip. The audience saw a slice in the audio and went feral trying to fill it. Ethan closed his eyes for a long, slow beat. Terminate the partnerships team's access to this campaign, he said. Freeze all external routing. Pull any creative that mentions a parallel perspective. From now on, nothing goes out without my sign-off and hers. Dana hesitated. Sir, we still need board approval to cut a sponsor from a live launch. Then call my father, he said. Tell him I said there is more than one way to burn a brand. Tell him I choose the way that leaves the company standing." The call ended. The room felt both colder and cleaner. I sat down because my knees wanted to lock. I folded my hands on my thighs. I watched the tiny camera reposition its crop like a polite little liar, and I spoke in a voice pitched for the person who would navigate later. "I'm going to ask you a question," I said to Ethan. "If you answer it clean, I will hear you. If you do not, I will get my bag and go stay at a hotel, and you can finish your story without me." He nodded. "Ask. Did you ever tell Haley anything about us that I did not agree to make public?" "No," he said at once, and his answer landed like a stone. "I told her less than I told anyone. I told her the contract terms at the start because it protected her image and mine. After that, I told her nothing she could learn by watching the shows like everyone else." His mouth twisted. "She is the one who told me things I did not ask for anymore. Why did you not cut her off sooner?" He looked away, then back. "Habit," he said simply. "History is a leash that looks like a thread until it yanks. I should have cut it. I did not. That is on me." It was the first time he had said something about her that did not sound like a careful press release. It was not pretty. It was not polished. It was true. The audience, even half muted, could feel it. In the mansion, his mother sat down the tablet and pressed her fingers to her lips. His father stared at the rug. Chloe stood up so quickly the couch spring squeaked. She jogged to the hallway and dialed the number with angry taps. "What did you do?" she hissed into her phone. "No. Do not tell me it was a creative choice. You put her in our house. You put my brother on a road he did not choose." "There is an answer." Chloe listened. Her face changed shape. She closed her eyes. "You always do this," she whispered. "You say it will help, and it helps you, not him." She hung up. She came back to the living room with her fists tight. When she sat, her mother touched her wrist. Chloe did not pull away. Back at the penthouse, the camera crop kept trying to lose me and failing because I kept stepping into Ethan's orbit, and he kept turning to follow me like gravity. "I need my own consent," I said. "Not presumed. Written. Going forward. There is no camera in this home unless I approve the hours and the rooms. No team uses my name as a lever. No friend of yours or mine sells me as a reaction shot. Done." He said, "I will draft it myself, and we will have an outside counsel review it." "I am not finished," I said. He watched me with a stillness that always meant he was ready to be hit by a hard truth. I let him stand in that place. I had to. "You told me last night you wanted to renew," I said. "You said maybe it stopped being fake. I do not know what I want yet, but I know this. If we renew, it will be because I choose it in the sunlight. Not because a camera made us a trend. Not because a board needs a fairy tale. Not because a rival is watching and crying into a ring light. If I stay, it will be because the man who stood in a practice room and listened to me sing before anyone cared is still there. It will be because the man who cannot cook but tries anyway is not a brand. He is a person, and he sees one in me." He bowed his head. "I am here," he said, "and I see you." The filter did not catch that because it was meant for a different kind of private. I went to the bedroom and changed out of pajamas and into jeans and a plain white tee. No logos. No sparkle. I tied my hair back. I came out with my guitar and set it on the counter. He watched me like a man trying not to hope. "I am going out," I said. "Not to hide. To sing. I will choose the camera, and the crowd, and the sidewalk, and the first corner where the acoustics are decent. I will let them point and shout and throw their theories like rice. And I will sing until my voice is louder than their captions. You can come, or you can stay, and fix your house. Either way, do not try to protect me by locking me inside a frame again." He moved toward me, then stopped himself. "I will come," he said, "but behind you, not in front." We left the building by the service exit to avoid turning the lobby into a carnival. I could feel the camera drift at shoulder height, now cropped so tight on him that I was a ghost at the edge of a screen. It made me want to laugh. On 10 million devices, I would be a rumor, while in the real air, I was solid weight and breath and skin. The doorman gave us a look that said he had been following the stream and was not sure whether to bow or apologize. I nodded to him like none of it mattered, and then I stepped out into the city. The morning had washed everything. The sidewalk shone a little, and there was that smell of wet stone and hot bread from the bakery on the corner. I walked past the first block and the second while the camera kept its obedient distance from my back. I stopped at a small square where a statue lifted a bronze hand and the buildings made a shallow bowl for sound. I had sung there once when I was 19 and too proud to cough for coins. I took my place again like that girl had been saving it for me. People noticed us in a slow wave, the way birds lift off one tree at a time instead of all at once. A barista with foam on his knuckles, a courier with a knee brace, a woman in a blazer who should have been on a call but was not. They saw Ethan first because he glowed with that cold, expensive light money gives. Then they saw me and their faces made small yes and no, shapes that did not matter any more than the wind. I lifted the guitar strap over my head and checked the tuning by ear. The first string was a hair sharp. I fixed it. I glanced at Ethan. He took one step back, so I had the square. I did not preface. I did not say hello, internet. I did not say my side. I did not say my truth. I sang. It was not the new song, not the pretty one the stream had already tasted. I sang Paper Wings, the one he had heard through glass without me ever knowing. I sang it as it was written, not sweetened for radio, the way it had been before. I let producers sand it into a shape that fit a playlist. The first verse is small, it sits in the throat. The second walks out into the open. The third climbs. When the chorus broke open, my voice carried clean across the square and up into the windows that were cracked to let the morning in. A taxi slowed. A child tugged his mother's sleeve. Someone held up a phone and then lowered it like they remembered. It is a sin to record church, if you do not mean the prayer. I sang about leaving and being left. I sang about a promise that flew away because you tried to hold it too tight. I sang about hands that learned to open. I poured the last high note straight up and left it there to ring. When it faded, there were no cheers for a heartbeat. Then there were not a roar, not a frenzy, just that human sound of people reminding one another that they are in this together. A woman near the front wiped her cheek and looked annoyed at herself for doing it. The courier with the knee brace clapped with his chin tipped up like a challenge to anyone who wanted to laugh at him for feeling something. I let the noise wash past. I looked at Ethan. His eyes were wet. He did not wipe them. He did not pretend dust. He stood and took it the way you take rain when you know you cannot outrun it. "There is a camera," I said to the crowd. No mic, just ordinary voice. It has been here too. It is his camera. It has a job. So do I. He is going to fix his job. I'm going to keep doing mine. Someone called out that I was braver than they thought. Someone else called me a leech and told me to go home. I nodded to both of them. Both were true once. A reporter fought her way through the outer ring, breathless. "Julie," she said, shoving a recorder forward, "did you know about the live stream before you were shown in it?" I opened my mouth. Ethan stepped forward, not in front of me, just near enough to lend shape to what I was about to say. I could see his mother in my head, begging him not to create another clip for wolves. I could see Chloe, furious in a way that meant love. I could see a younger me counting the bills in my pocket twice and deciding to pay for an hour of practice anyway. "I did not," I said. "Now I do. Now we all do. I will choose when I sing to you. And when I do not, you will not be invited into my kitchen." The reporter blinked. The recorder sagged a little at her side. "Thanks," she said, like she meant it and had forgotten how to be sharp. We walked home. The camera kept to its new box. My phone was a bonfire of missed calls and offers and threats. I put it on Do Not Disturb because my heart needed a quiet room. At the door, Ethan stopped me with one word. "Haley called again?" He said. I blocked the number and I drafted the consent addendum on the ride back. The first line reads, "There is no household consent without Julie S.'s signature." The second line reads, "The filter is a promise, not a feature." The third line reads, "If it fails, we fail with it." "Let me see," I said. He handed me the screen. The words were simple. The tone was not legal. It was human. It would not hold in court on tone alone. But tone is where trust lies. I scrolled at the bottom. There was one more line. "If we renew, you set the terms for us." It said, "If you walk, I will not make you a villain to save my face. I will resign from the launch and I will say why. I looked up. He held my gaze. He did not try to look heroic. He looked like a man who had finally felt the leash slip from his wrist. My answer did not come fast. It did not need to. A good song lets a beat of silence land before the last chord. There is one more truth we have not touched. I said, my career was not killed by a rumor alone. Someone helped that rumor grow legs and buy a ticket. Find out who. Bring me proof, not a hunch, not a text from a friend. Proof. When I know who tried to end me, I will know who stands with me. He nodded once. I already started. He said, I called the studio where you recorded the single before the plagiarism claim. The raw files were moved the week the story broke. The access log shows a pull by an outside vendor. That vendor has ties to Haley's new management and to a rival tech firm that wants our camera to fail. I do not have the whole chain yet, but I will. Do not do it alone, I said. Ask Chloe. Ask the one person in your family who will chase a thread until it is rope. As if she'd been standing on the other side of the door waiting for the cue. My phone buzzed with her name. I answered on speaker. I was wrong about you, she blurted without hello. Not all the way wrong, maybe 50% wrong. Maybe 60. I am still working it out. But I know you did not ask for this. And I know who took the mask off the stream. She drew a breath like a diver. It was not just the sponsor. It was a back-end engineer on a temporary contract placed by that sponsor. He used a test key our cousin on the product team left in an unsecured repo. I have screenshots. I have commit history. I have the email where he asked if there was a bonus for extra heat, and someone replied with a smiley face made of parentheses and a $sign because they thought that counted as a joke. Thank you, I said. Do not thank me yet. She said, it gets worse. The rival tech firm you are thinking of has a funder in common with Haley as new management. And guess who introduced them? She paused like a drum hit. Our mother, not because she wanted to hurt you, because she wanted to keep Ethan clear. She thought a bigger storm around you would pull the heat away from him. It was stupid. It was wrong. But it was not the cartoon version. It was the version where people do the wrong thing because they think love is a shield you can aim. I closed my eyes. The thread was rope. Rope could pull. Rope could also burn your hands. Send everything, Ethan said, to my personal inbox and to outside counsel. Then turn off your phone and sit with Mom. I will handle the rest. Chloe exhaled. Finally, she said, and hung up. I set the guitar down on the couch. I walked to the window where the camera had first revealed itself and looked out at the city. My reflection looked back, a little older than yesterday, a little less interested in asking permission to breathe. The stream was still live for him. It would keep rolling until a board decided it had eaten enough. The world would keep watching, hunting for a new angle. Maybe they would find one. Maybe I would give them one. But the next one would be mine to choose. I turned from the glass and faced the man who had been boy enough once to stand in a doorway and listen to a girl sing. He had made mistakes. So had I. But the note we held now did not waver. Find me the proof, I said, and bring your father to the table. Bring your mother. Bring the people who thought a camera was a game and a woman was a bonus level. We will speak. Not with press releases, with facts, with names, with an apology that is not shaped like a coupon code. And then, he asked, lie low, and then I will tell you whether I want paper or skin, contract or vow. I will tell you with the camera off. I will tell you without an audience to clap for the right parts. You will have to hear it without applause to tell you what to feel. He nodded. He stepped back. Not away, just back to the way he had in the square. He knew how to give space now. He knew how to keep a promise he had only just written. The tiny machine adjusted its gaze again and again, hungry for a perfect frame it could not have. For the first time since it entered our room, I felt a shard of pity for it. It could capture the shape of us, not the weight. I picked up my guitar again, not to sing, just to hold something that had always told me the truth when people did not. Ethan went to his desk and started calling names that had always answered him. Somewhere in the mansion, a mother sat very still, with her hands on top of one another, and a daughter leaned against her, both of them breathing to a slow count. Somewhere in a different room, a father stared at a contract and understood that there are costs you pay now to stop paying interest forever. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, we did not pretend. We were not scared, but the fear had finally met its match. We were done being content. We were about to become authors. The following morning, sunlight poured across the penthouse like it had been waiting for permission. It touched the edge of my guitar, the rim of Ethan's empty coffee cup, the papers he had spent the night signing. I stood at the window, barefoot, staring at the skyline that had once felt unreachable, the city that had cheered for my failure, now forced to watch me breathe again. Ethan was on a call in his office. His tone was different, stripped of corporate polish, low and precise. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught fragments. Cease contract, full statement by noon, independent audit. He was dismantling his own company's lie piece by piece. I made breakfast quietly. It felt strange to move through the kitchen without feeling observed, though I still half expected the hum of that invisible machine. The feed had been shut down at midnight. Millions of viewers had watched the blackout in disbelief. The internet was split, half furious that the show ended, half finally understanding it had never been a show at all. When Ethan emerged, he looked like a man who hadn't slept, but had decided to start living anyway. His tie hung loose, his eyes dark but steady. "It's done," he said. "The board voted. The campaign's over. They're issuing a formal apology to you publicly." I poured him coffee. "They won't mean it," he smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but it'll be on record. Sometimes that's enough." He sat across from me, elbows on the table, watching me with a kind of silence that demanded honesty. "Do you hate me?" he asked. The question was simple. "It hurt anyway. I don't hate you," I said. "I hate what they turned us into, and I hate that you let them." He nodded once, accepting it like a sentence he already knew he deserved. I'll spend the rest of my life unlearning that kind of obedience. "Then start today," I said. By noon, the world had a new villain. Haley Sutton's PR agency issued a statement denying all involvement, but the leaked emails told another story. Screenshots from Chloe's cache hit the news cycle. Haley's manager offering exclusive emotional footage of me to a rival tech sponsor in exchange for cross-promotion. Hashtag shifted overnight. Hashtag justice for Julie. Hashtag Shalik. Hashtag invisible scandal. The same tabloids that had once called me a social climbing fraud now called me the unknowing victim of a corporate experiment. They use softer words now, words that made guilt sound like pity, but pity still tasted bitter. Reporters camped outside the building. I ignored them for once. They weren't going to script my story before I could tell it. I opened my laptop and began typing. Not lyrics, but a statement. No lawyers, no PR filters, no notes from Ethan, just my voice. For years, I lived inside a story written by others. I let silence protect people who didn't deserve it. But silence isn't grace. It's a cage. The camera didn't expose me, it freed me. I won't be the villain of someone else's movie again. I hit post. Within minutes, it went viral. But this time, the noise didn't feel like violence. It felt like oxygen. Ethan's father called that evening. He didn't use speakerphone, but I could hear his voice through the thin wall, the sound of authority cracking. "You ruined the campaign, Ethan. You cost this company billions." "No," Ethan said quietly. "We ruined people. I'm just cleaning up what we broke." "You're throwing away your legacy for her." Ethan's answer came calm and final. "She is my legacy." He hung up before the man could reply. When he walked back into the living room, he looked lighter. Not happier, but freer. "What happens now?" I asked. "I resign," he said, publicly. Not as an admission of guilt, as a refusal to keep pretending. "You'll lose everything." He shook his head. "I already lost everything worth keeping when I let them use you." He meant it. I could tell. There was something unshakable in the way he said it. The same resolve I'd heard in my own voice when I sang in that square. The press conference happened the next morning. Ethan stood before a wall of cameras, real visible. Ones this time. He looked directly into the lenses. "The world saw a failure of technology," he said, "but what you really saw was a failure of conscience. Consent isn't a checkbox. It's a language. And we stopped speaking it. I did too. For that, I apologized to my wife, to my team, and everyone who watched, believing it was entertainment. He stepped away from the podium before reporters could ask their questions. The room erupted behind him, but he didn't look back. When he reached me, waiting by the car, he exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for years. "Was it enough?" he asked. "It's a start," I said. Weeks passed. The headlines shifted. Haley's agency folded under legal pressure. Shaw Corp restructured, issuing new consent laws for all tech-integrated media. The invisible camera prototype was shelved indefinitely. Chloe sent me a short text one night. "You were right about sunlight. It fixes what we hide." And me? I went back to music. Real music. Small venues. No filters, no backing tracks. The first show sold out in 10 minutes. Not because I was famous, but because people wanted to see the girl who turned surveillance into survival. Halfway through that concert, I saw Ethan standing at the back of the crowd. Cap pulled low. He didn't try to approach. He didn't need to. I sang the same song, Paper Wings. And when I hit the last note, our eyes met across the room. This time, no one was watching for drama. No hidden camera, no viral clip. Just him. Just me. Later that night, he waited for me outside the venue. The air was cool. The city quieter than I remembered. "I don't want to talk about contracts anymore," he said. "Good," I said. "Neither do I." He took something from his pocket. Not a ring, not a gift, just a folded piece of paper. "My resignation letter," he said, and the consent clause signed by every board member. "You were right. It should have been yours all along." I unfolded it, scanning the lines. My name clear and bold, no footnotes. "I thought you might want to keep it," he said. "Proof that we learned." I smiled faintly. "You really think paper can hold what we are?" He shook his head. "No, but maybe this time it's not paper wings. Maybe it's real." The streetlight flickered. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I stepped closer. "No cameras?" "None," he said. "Then listen carefully," I whispered, my fingers brushing his wrist. And I sang, not loud, not for an audience, just for him. A few quiet words, softer than the city, stronger than any headline. We were ghosts in glass, but now we're here. No filters, no script, just truth to hear. When the song ended, he closed the space between us, forehead against mine. "This time," he murmured, "no one owns the story." "No," I said, "we write it ourselves." The city lights stretched behind us, blinking like 1,000 watching eyes. But for once, none of them mattered. The world had seen enough of our performance. Now it was time to live.